They thought a single warship could break Earth. Then the sky filled with human fleets. Admiral Zefix adjusted the neural interface connecting him to the massive dreadnought Sovereign's Wrath. The ship stretched 12 kilometers from bow to stern, its crystalline hull gleaming with the accumulated power of a dozen conquered worlds. Behind him, the bridge crew of the hegemony's finest warriors maintained their positions with military precision, their scaled faces betraying no emotion as they prepared for what they believed would be a simple demonstration. "Target acquired, Admiral," reported Navigation Officer Krell, her clawed fingers dancing across holographic displays. "Third planet from the star. The humans call it Earth." Zefix allowed himself a thin smile. The galactic hegemony had expanded across 47 star systems in the past century, absorbing or eliminating species that refused to submit. Intelligence reports on humanity had been laughably disappointing. A young species, barely 3 centuries into space travel, confined to a single solar system with only rudimentary colonies on nearby worlds. Their largest warships were primitive fusion-powered vessels that wouldn't last 5 minutes against hegemony shields. "Communications. Open a channel to the planet," Zefix commanded. "Let's give them one opportunity to surrender with dignity." The main screen flickered to life, displaying the blue-green marble that housed 8 billion humans. Zefix had seen dozens of worlds like this one, peaceful, unsuspecting, soon to be conquered. The response came within minutes. A middle-aged, human female in what appeared to be a simple military uniform. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. You are in violation of our territorial space. State your intentions." Zefix leaned forward, savoring the moment. "I am Admiral Zefix of the Galactic Hegemony. Your species has 15 minutes to transmit your unconditional surrender, or we will demonstrate why resistance is futile. Be advised, this single vessel carries enough firepower to crack your planet's crust." Admiral Chen's expression didn't change. If anything, she looked amused. "Admiral, you've made a significant miscalculation. We respectfully decline your generous offer." "Foolish," Zefix muttered, cutting the transmission. He turned to his weapons officer. "Charge the primary cascade cannon. We'll vaporize one of their continents. That should convince them." But as the Sovereign's Wrath powered its main weapon, something impossible began happening around them. Space itself seemed to shimmer and fold, reality bending in ways that made the ship's sensors scream warnings. The void of space began filling with signatures, dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. "Admiral," Krell's voice cracked with disbelief, "I'm reading massive gravitic distortions throughout the system. Ships are appearing everywhere." The main display switched to tactical overview, and Zefix felt his blood turn cold. Surrounding the Sovereign's Wrath in a perfect sphere, extending outward for millions of kilometers, were human vessels. Not the primitive ships their intelligence had reported, but sleek predators of war that defied everything the hegemony knew about human technology. "How many?" Zefix whispered. "Computer estimates 97,432 vessels," Krell reported, her voice barely audible. "And more arriving every second." The human admiral's face reappeared on screen, her previous amusement replaced by cold professionalism. "Admiral Zefix, allow me to correct your intelligence briefing. What you're seeing around you is the 3rd Expeditionary Fleet of the Human Colonial Defense Force. Each ship carries advanced quantum shielding, antimatter warheads, and weaponry that can fold space-time itself." Zefix stared at the tactical display in growing horror. The human ships moved with impossible coordination, their formations flowing like water around his single vessel. "This is impossible. Our scouts reported—" "Your scouts reported exactly what we wanted them to see," Admiral Chen interrupted. "For the past 50 years, we've been aware of the hegemony's expansion. We watched you conquer the Altarian Republic. We observed your subjugation of the Vegan Confederacy. And we prepared." The weapons officer turned to Zefix, his face pale. "Admiral, our cascade cannon is fully charged, but their ships are generating some kind of interference field. Our targeting systems can't lock on." "You see, Admiral," Chen continued, "humans have a particular talent that sets us apart from other species you've encountered. We excel at something you've clearly never mastered, learning from others' mistakes. On the tactical display, the human fleet began moving, not attacking, not threatening, simply repositioning into what Zephyx realized was a perfect demonstration of overwhelming force. Every angle of escape was covered, every possible vector of attack anticipated and countered. Every species you've conquered made the same error, Chen explained. They assumed you would fight with honor, that you would engage in fair combat. They prepared for the war they wanted to fight, not the war you brought to them. We studied your tactics, your technology, your weaknesses. Zephyx's communications officer looked up from his station. Admiral, I'm detecting massive energy signatures from the human fleet. They're charging weapons simultaneously. All of them. The space around the Sovereign's wrath began to glow with barely contained energy. 97,000 ships, each one individually capable of reducing his dreadnought to constituent atoms, all preparing to fire in perfect unison. We could have hidden our fleet until you approached Earth, Admiral Chen said. We could have let you fire first, given you the initiative. But that's not the human way. When we fight to win decisively. When we demonstrate force, we ensure the lesson is never forgotten. Zephyx slumped in his command chair, the weight of absolute defeat crushing down on him. His ship, the pride of the hegemony navy, was now nothing more than target practice for a species they had fatally underestimated. What do you want? He asked. Your immediate withdrawal from this system, your guarantee that no hegemony vessel will ever enter human space again, and most importantly, Admiral Chen's smile returned, cold and sharp as a blade. We want you to carry a message back to your leadership. Tell them that humanity is no longer content to hide in a single star system. Tell them we're coming. As if responding to some unheard signal, the human fleet began to disperse, ships folding space around themselves and vanishing into the void. Within minutes, only a few dozen remained, more than enough to ensure the Sovereign's wrath departed as instructed. Admiral Zephyx gave the order to retreat, his mind reeling from the implications. The hegemony had spent centuries believing they were the apex predators of the galaxy. They had just discovered they were wrong. Humanity hadn't just prepared for war, they had revolutionized it. And now, like every species the hegemony had ever conquered, they were about to learn what it felt like to be the hunted instead of the hunters. The stars themselves seemed different now, filled with the promise of fleets that could appear from nowhere, carrying the fury of a species that had learned the most important lesson of all. Sometimes the best defense is an overwhelming offense. As Earth grew smaller in their wake, Zephyx wondered if the hegemony would heed his warning, or if their arrogance would lead them to test humanity's resolve once more. He hoped, for all their sakes, that they would choose wisdom over pride. The humans had made their point with devastating clarity. They were no longer prey, they were predators.